Welcome to the Spiritual Artist Podcast. This is Chris Miller. I invite you to join me as I interview artists from a variety of disciplines. We'll share powerful stories and lessons learned while making their art. Good day. This is Chris Miller with the Spiritual Artist Podcast. I'm really excited with today's guest. Last podcast, I interviewed Valerie Grimes, and she talked about hypnotism and hiking, the hypnotic hiker. But her emphasis was on nature and how nature affects us. So today's guests are kind of walking in that same trail, down that same path, and we're taking a look at nature and its healing effects. So today I'm speaking with Pamela Urbas and Andrew Duchovnay of the Indigo Sanctuary. Pam and Andy are rockhounds, lapidary artists, sound healers, entrepreneurs, environmentalists, and think of themselves as spiritual artists. Their connection with nature runs through everything they do. They recognize that they and all of us are part of nature, and they feel that union. Through their business, the Indigo Sanctuary, they support people in their spiritual journeys by providing ethically sourced gemstones, jewelry, and spiritual art, as well as other meditation and yoga products. I'm finding this very interesting, and Pam and Andy reached out to me after reading my book. There was an instant connection, and they shared how much they enjoyed it. So I'm looking forward to how they use spiritual practices in their work. So good morning, Pam and Andy. How are you?
Hi.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Nice to see you, and it's nice to hear that your weather's a little cooler up north than it is down here in Texas.
It is.
So I love this whole concept. First, I wanted to thank you. I can't show this to the listeners, but I can share it. And Andy and Pam sent me this beautiful bolo tie. And can you tell me a little bit about the stone in this tie?
Yes. The stone is called thulite. And we discovered it, we collected it by mistake in New Mexico. We were looking for a specific location, and instead of turning for different stones, and instead of turning left, we turned right. And we're on a mountaintop and just looking around, and we found these stones that had beautiful green and red and pink in it, like a slice of watermelon. So we collected it. So that's thulite. And thulite is for, it's a heart-centered stone. It's for healing and just heart warmth and things like that. And for trauma as well, healing trauma. So we brought the stone home and we sliced it and shaped it. And actually, I think that was Pam's. And then we created the woodwork to go with the stone. And we like using reclaimed or found wood. So the bolo tips are made out of reclaimed Brazilian chestnut, and the setting for the stone is a cherry wood.
Oh, I have to tell you, the listeners, you can't see this, but I think the wood the setting is as beautiful as the stone. You know, it's very smooth and just a wonderful texture. So this is interesting. You mentioned that you found it by accident. I love that because I talk about that in my book. Oftentimes when we're being creative, things happen accidentally, or we think they're accidentally, and suddenly we find something really joyous out of it. How do you do this? This is all new to me. I had a friend several years ago that took me rock hunting. That is my only experience with rock hunting. And we went out and found some quartz in an abandoned quarry, in Dallas. But often I haven't even heard of that very much. How did you get into this as a passion?
Well, when I was a little boy, I always collected stones. And as I got older, I kind of left it aside for a while. And when we had children, we camped a lot. And I would always be stopping and picking up stones along the way. And it would always take a really long time to get to our destination because I was always picking up stones. And then finally, Pam said, you had a rock tumbler when you were 13. why don't you get yourself another one and rediscover your inner child? So based on that, I bought a rock tumbler and we tumbled. And then Pam said, why don't we go and actively collect the stones that we're going to tumble? And that really began our rock hounding, as we call it, in earnest. We love to travel around the country, and even when we're overseas, we're always picking up rocks. So we really do enjoy going out and rock hunting.
Now, do you plan your trips around that? Do you plan your locations and your vacations for that?
Yeah, now we do. We always find a place where we can go rock hunting, and it's our like happy time. It's our happy time, and I guess because we really love nature, and we feel like we're exploring our inner child.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're really exploring, and you never know what you can find. So we do look on Andy's in several Facebook groups, and sometimes he'll write to people like, I'm going to, where did we go recently? Oh, Rhode Island, yeah. And they'll tell us where to go. So people can be really helpful. Sometimes the internet really is not helpful. Like they said, Rhode Island is not a great place to...
I wouldn't think it. Honestly, Rhode Island.
But I've been bugging Andy about Rhode Island for a while because we passed through Rhode Island and I love the seashore there. So he's like, no, Rhode Island's not the place for rock hounding. But
it was.
It was.
Yeah.
Who would think, right? Yeah. Rhode Island.
Yeah, it was.
Moonstone Beach, if anyone's listening. Oh my goodness. It is a paradise. It's just a paradise, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's moonstone all over, and it shines.
Yeah.
We went in April and it was really cold, like so cold. It felt like December. But just being in that environment, we were like, okay, we don't care if we're cold. We're doing this, right?
Yeah. We were collecting flint in Ohio in the middle of winter. So like when you get a chance to go rock hunting, the weather doesn't matter. You just do it.
Says the man that's passionately picking up stones everywhere he goes.
Yeah.
So it's like a perfect relationship here of stone and making, because I want to share with the listeners that you actually take these rocks and stones and you turn them into jewelry and beautiful pieces like the bolo tie, stuff like that, correct?
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And we don't always plan for it. Like we might have a winter where we're inside a lot and it's too cold to go into our studio. So we'll work on our wood for a period of time and do different settings. And sometimes we even forget who made the wood piece. Like we spend our winters sanding and shaping things. And I'm like, who made this? It's very freeing.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Well, I have to tell you, Andy, since I've been young too, I do pick up rocks. I'm big. I know this sounds strange. Acorns. I love acorns.
Yeah.
So I collect them and I put a row of them in the window ledge,
Yeah.
So I'm always changing out, unique stones I find in a riverbed, pine cones. Nature is often very, I find it very amazing, right? That so much diversity in nature.
Mm-hmm.
That's the thing that we find also, that how many different variations of colors and patterns and textures of rocks can there be in a small area?
Right.
It's just awesome.
I know
Yeah.
it's amazing to think of that. There's such diversity in shape, color, and what's out there. And I'm never, I never am not amazed. I call it in the book, I say looking for moments of awe. And I talk about going out in nature and just looking for the awe of it, and you're right. All the different rocks and stones, and they're just laying about, right?
Right.
That moment of awe is a concept that when we read it, it really resonated with us, because you have those moments like when you're out in the desert, and the desert is one of our favorite places. I say the desert and by water as well, but it's gray or it's brown, and then you have that shine of light or that pop of red that just jumps out at you out of the desert, or and it's like, wow. Or you pick up something and it's got this incredible pattern to it, and you have to believe in a higher force to be able to create a world with such beauty and diversity.
And also finding gemstones, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. I'm very sensitive to energy, and sometimes I get a little tired at times, and I'm very physical, so I know that the tiredness is not because I'm walking a lot or digging a lot. It's just the energy is so intense. And then we're looking for a particular stone and it's not there. So you're looking for that color, and you have to be more open-minded. And it's really, really exhausting. But when you find something, and something that you didn't even expect to find, you have that moment of awe, like, wow, come here, Andy, look what I found, and it's that special moment, but it comes from hard work. That's what I have to remind myself in my daily life, that a lot of awe moments come from hard work.
They do. They come from some discipline. There is a discipline involved to keep going, to keep looking, to staying in that conscious state where you're receptive to it.
Yeah.
I mean, because I know I talk about painting, and I say that when I paint, I like to leave my conscious mark in the painting. Consciousness leaves a mark in the painting, and I think that nature has marks in all these elements that you're looking for. So tell me, Pam, how do you do that? Do you do it with your mind mentally? Do you plan out a site and go, okay, I know that at the top of that peaks, that tends to be a certain type of rock, or near a shallow riverbed, or do you kind of go from a feeling or a vibration?
I'm more of the feeling person. That's how I like working. I like working on an intuitive feeling. I think he's that way, but he's not quite that way. He has a plan. So sometimes he'll say to me, Pam, let's go this way, or, he has a plan. It's good. We work really well together, because sometimes I don't really care if we find anything. I'm just so happy. If we're in a beautiful place, I'm really happy. I don't know. It's just the place is a lot. There's a lot of joy there. But I might be disappointed if I come home with nothing when I get home, but when I'm there, I'm fine. Sometimes you don't find anything. It's hard, but we do have a plan. And like I said, Facebook groups are our most helpful way. And we have some books that we use. We're book people. And then, of course, the internet is really our last go-to. Don't you think so? Yeah.
A little bit of both, perhaps. You scout out certain areas, but then when you get there, you kind of just feel your way through.
maybe?
Yeah, we do. We hike and we look, and we're looking down on the ground a lot. And if we're by water, we play in the water. Um, it's a lot of playing too. You're really playing, like playing with water, picking up sand. I mean, were places where it's a lot of work. Like you're really digging a lot, and those places aren't as satisfying for me. Andy likes them. Yeah, they're not as satisfying. I like the playing part better. I think
Digging is hard.
it's hard.
Digging is hard, and sometimes you think, well, here's a vein of a color that's going through the dirt or the clay, and I'm going to follow the vein. And you're digging, and it's hard, and it can get frustrating. But sometimes in those moments, the Spirit steps in, and maybe we could tell you a little bit about the Spirit guides that come in, because I'm thinking about when we were in Virginia and we were looking for amethyst, and it was hard work mining, and we were hammering, and it was really frustrating. And then a spirit guide intervened.
Yeah. I mean, amethyst is so pretty, and it's so purple, and that is one stone I really wanted to find. I mean,
It is a beautiful stone.
It is a beautiful stone, and we weren't finding it, and this ginger cat was following us everywhere, and everywhere we'd go, we'd see this ginger cat, and it was really a bright. Would you say the ginger cat was bright?
Really bright? Yeah,
really bright. I mean, I don't know if the sun. It was very sunny, but the ginger cat was really orange, like very peachy. And we kept on finding this peach stone, and we didn't even put two and two together that the cat and the stone were both the same color. So it was a moonstone, a feldspar, a peach feldspar, and we didn't even realize how beautiful it was until we got it home.
Yeah. And we didn't know it was present in that location, but the cat led us to one measly little amethyst crystal, and then giant chunks of peach feldspar.
Yeah. Yeah, it was just, and then we didn't even realize it until we got it home. Because sometimes you're in the hot sun and you're looking and you're somewhat tired. And I wanted that amethyst so badly. I wanted to bring home barrels of amethyst. And my mind was just stuck. It was stuck. And I needed some time to settle down to see that wasn't the stone for us. And I think that
so then some years later, like April, we went to Moonstone Beach in Rhode Island and collected moonstone, and again it was the same peach moonstone. And as we're leaving the beach in our car, we drive down the road and we turn to the left, and there's this giant ginger cat sitting there. So it's
very it's really
magical. It's magical when that happens.
Well, when I was talking to Valerie and she was talking about hiking, she was talking about the rhythm of it. The rhythm of it puts you into a subconscious state, because you're walking back and forth, and going into nature can actually put you into a subconscious state, in the effect that it kind of quiets your mind. So Pam, if your mind is going, I want amethyst, I want, maybe the action of digging and it kind of it quiets that mind. And then suddenly you hear that spirit coming in at you, the spirit's right there telling you where to go.
Yeah.
If you get your mind out of the way.
Yeah, your mind is in the way. I mean, Andy was telling me, see this vein, Pam? Keep on going. I know, but it's very interesting.
But we were in the Berkshires hunting for rhodonite and rhodochrosite. And that involves digging and hammering because you have to dig the rock, and because of the manganese in it, it turns black on the outside. So you have to crack it open to see if it has the pink and the red that you want, the rhodonite and the rhodochrosite. So that was really hard work. And we met another spirit guide.
Yeah, we did. So this time I wasn't really, well, it was, I don't know, I was getting tired because we must have been there 5 hours. I mean, it was a long time. And I recommend, if you're interested in rockhounding, you really have to be strong. I mean, lifting weights or something to really, your upper body, it's physical. And so Andy's digging with the shovel, and I said, I'm going to take a break. Usually we take a break to eat something, but this time we were like determined. And also you have to crack open the rock to see what's inside. So we found some little pieces, and I took a little break, and I saw a toad. And the toad was jumping around, so I followed this toad, and the toad jumped onto a rock where someone left so many pieces of rhodochrosite and rhodonite, and they were so beautiful. And I, of course, there's that moment of awe. And I yell, Andy, I found it. Well, of course I didn't find it. Someone left it for us. But that little toad really took us in the right direction. So that was I think the most amazing spirit guide. Yeah. Yeah, that I always think, well, maybe I could find another toad, but
there's always more. Always more toads, Pam.
Yeah. But it's really, I guess you have to be in the playful moment and in the very focused moment as well. It's you need that.
It's that in between place. It's I actually talk about that in the book too. The rule of medium. It's that in between place. And so it's funny when you said that, I was thinking each time that you decide to follow the ginger cat or the toad, you're being playful. You're relaxing a little bit. You're not, it's also a metaphor when you think about it. We take a pick to life and we're trying to hack our way through it. And it's when we slow down in life and just play and just let ourselves be children again. All of a sudden it's right there. It's, that stone, you said it was already hunted and laid out on a rock for you, which is interesting, isn't it?
Right. Yeah, I mean, I could even use my imagination more. Maybe a fairy, brought it.
Yeah. Well, who knows?
Or a little angel or whatever you believe us, somebody from heaven, brought it to us. I mean, you could think anything, but energy works in a very strange way. It's really, yeah.
So we're open to it.
So I was curious. One of the things we delayed this podcast about 30 minutes because I was doing yoga this morning. And for me, yoga is what I call a spiritual practice. And it sounds like you all have experience with that as well, doing yoga. When you go out on these expeditions, do you do some sort of a ritual before you start? Do you prepare yourself to do the hunting, or do you just jump out of the car and go?
We always do our daily practice. Of course, if you're on a trip and, you've been out camping for days, maybe the daily practice would not be as long, but we really haven't, unless we're traveling in an airplane or something. We haven't gone a day really without our daily practice. And it's our foundation. Yeah, it keeps us grounded. It's that once you're born, you have to be, that's my opinion and Andy's opinion. Once you're born, you have to be grounded. Yeah, or you can burn out.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So every morning you do some sort of a yoga practice?
What we do is we're singing bowl healers. So we play our bowls every morning, not for long, and we clear our crystals with the sound of the bowls. And then we put our stone or crystal or gemstone beside us and have an affirmation for it. And then we start our meditation. The meditation is about a half an hour. And then we do about a half an hour of yin yoga, which is also very meditative as well. And then we go on with our day. And with a practice, it's always evolving. You might change it up a little bit, but we always recommend to people, whatever you decide how to do your practice, because that's personal choice. Stay with that specific discipline for 30 days so that the body can memorize it and it's in your body. Even an affirmation, you should stay with the affirmation for approximately 30 days. I think they're saying like 20 days for the body to memorize it, approximately that amount of time. So yeah. So that's very important to us, and especially during COVID. I mean, it really saved us, right? Yeah.
Well, it does. That kind of ritual can get you through rough times, certainly. And stuff like COVID, when you're trapped in the house, just having that, well, it's first thing in the morning and I sit here and I do my meditation and I quiet myself. Kind of gave me goosebumps when you're talking about listening to the bowls and the music and the sound. And so you obviously feel strongly that sound is a healing energy. Is that correct?
Yes. And I think that when I think, and Andy thinks about nature, we think visually, but it's sound too, like the quiet and the birds and the river, all those beautiful sounds. Yes, right. Yes. Yeah.
So it's energy, whether it's sound energy or light energy or color reflecting energy or the energy of a stone or a tree. It's all energy that goes through all of us. And Pam and I try to be sensitive to and aware of that energy and tap into it and join the union with the energy that flows through everything.
Well, I love that, Andy. I really resonate that because I think it's that recognition of the union, the recognition that we are part of all of this. Sadly, I think in Western civilization, we try to feel like, nature's something we stuff over there, right? We take its resources and we ignore it, but really we can't because we are of it. We are, we are nature. And so I love what you guys do because most people, they can hear sound and see a vibration. They can see light and they can see water showing a vibration, but boy, stone, I mean, that's a rough one, right? Because it's stone, it's just a rock, right? And obviously you guys are tapping into that there is, even in something that is solid appearing as stone. And we know through quantum physics that nothing is truly solid, but even as something as solid appearing as stone, that you guys are being attracted to the vibration of it.
And sometimes the attraction isn't always pleasant.
Okay.
I mean, sometimes it can be really intense, depending on the stone. I mean, even working with it can be intense. Some examples are, in New Mexico, on the same mountain where we found the thulite, on the other side was an area where we collected lepidolite and lithium gel silica. And everything was white and pink and purple. And it had a high lithium content there. And it was one of those serene moments where you sit there, and purple was always one of my favorite colors. And you're surrounded by it, and you deflate a little bit. It's like, oh, I feel really good. Whereas in other places where we were collecting kyanite, Pam really sensed an intensity.
Yeah. Like it was so intense, and it was very cleansing. Yeah. Very, very cleansing. Actually, I cried when I got home.
Wow.
Yeah. And I didn't really understand where it was coming from. So, it was kyanite is very, very cleansing. It's similar to selenite. But it's a great stone. It's a great stone, and it's not very pretty. It's not very pretty. No, it's not. Especially the black kind, which that's what we were finding a lot.
Yeah.
The blue is the light blue is very, very pretty, but it's not like the prettiest stone. Do you agree?
No,
Andy?
but it's potent.
It's potent. It's cleansing.
Yeah.
It's very cleansing.
Yeah, we've had people, we were in Austin at a show, and someone came and picked up a black kyanite mala necklace for a friend, and just said, I can feel this, I have to get this, because she could feel the energy of it. And people can feel it. People can walk across the room to your table and go right to one piece of stone, because there's something about it that draws them to it. So people sense that very often.
Yeah. I mean, we make it look pretty because we put it on a mala. We might add some beads that go well with the kyanite. So we make it look pretty, but if you picked it out while you were hiking, you wouldn't think, twice. Yeah. You might think it's like a twig or something. It's something like that. Some of them are shaped like brooms, and that's what they say about this kyanite is you sweep your negative energies away. So the ones that actually look like brooms are really very, very, they're really beautiful, for the whole soul. Yeah.
Wow. So when you talk about this, it's a level of consciousness also. I mean, awareness. I was wondering how would you explain to our listeners, maybe there's someone listening right now that's like, what are they talking about? It's a rock. How would you tell them to be aware of this? What's the first step for them to be aware of these vibrations from nature?
Yeah. I think the first thing is to look at it. Like, sometimes it can be really pleasing to look at. Like Pam said, sometimes it's not. But I think the appearance, is the first thing people notice. So, we believe that in addition to the energy of the stone, there's the color of the stone and the shape of the stone. So I would say observe the stone, look at it, see if it's pleasing, get a feeling of how you feel about that color. And then it's a meditative experience. You have to hold the stone in the palm of your hand and close your eyes and breathe deeply and settle a little bit. Get into a meditative state and see how you feel. See if you sense something. Don't judge it. Don't try to, be skeptical. Be open to it. Because, sometimes you might feel something and your rational mind says, no, I'm not feeling that. That's just my imagination. But you have to let go of the rational mind a little bit and just breathe into it and hold it and meditate on it and see how it feels to you. And it's not going to appeal. The same stone won't appeal to every person.
Right.
It's a chemistry sometimes between the stone and the person.
Yeah, it's very funny. It's if you give a stone like the name crystal or gemstone, people start to like it more. Yes. Yeah. We're rockhounds, so it doesn't. The name like feels good to us.
Right.
The rock, the stone, gems or crystals. But I think when you say to people, this is a crystal," then you can see their eyes light up. This is a special gemstone. Yeah.
We just have to do a branding campaign for the word rock,
Yeah.
And we can do it.
That's right.
Yeah, we can work collaboratively on that. Yeah.
A new branding campaign. So you mentioned something, Andy. You mentioned the shape. And obviously you guys can have an influence on that because you actually smooth the stone or choose the size of it after you, I will use the word harvest. I don't know if that's the correct word.
That's good. Yeah.
Yeah. How do you do that? Do you consciously decide on a shape that reflects the properties of that stone?
Well, there's a process. Like when we bring the stones home, we wash them in soap and water and we sage them just to clear the energy. And then we have to look at each one by itself. Like when we start to work with it, we pick up the stone and sometimes there's something in the stone that suggests how it should be handled. There's a dialogue with this stone. It's, looking at it, turning it around in your hand. Some stones have beautiful shapes and the stone suggests to you like, I'm pretty nice the way I am. Do a little bit with me. And you have to be sensitive to that because that's part of the beauty. And sometimes we'll do very little to a stone. And other times, this stone doesn't have a unique form or anything. It's a block or a sheet. And we will plan something. Sometimes we'll actually plan it and it'll be a set shape and we'll scribe it and do it. And other times you'll just get started on the machine, on the grinding wheels. And all of a sudden you'll get into that gap, like you described, where you're not thinking about rushing to completion. You're just enjoying the moment and your body's moving with the grinding wheel. And sometimes you end up with a shape that you didn't expect or plan, but it works that way. Sometimes you have to really pay attention to the quality of the stone. Sometimes stones have what we might think of as imperfections, but sometimes it's just a pattern that's peculiar to the stone. But sometimes there'll be mechanical flaws in a stone. And if you push too hard, make the stone do what it doesn't really want to do, try and domineer it, it'll break. So you have to have this ongoing dialogue and be sensitive to what's the nature of this stone? How do I best work with it?
Yeah, I have a sculptor that works with stone in my show, and I interviewed him a while back for a magazine, and he talked about how he just starts chiseling into the stone. He's from Africa, and how the stone, it tells you what it wants to be. And that's exactly what you're describing. He says suddenly it'll just become a form of a woman carrying a basket, or it might be, it's that special, like you talk about that gap, where does that come from? But it's there. It's definitely there.
Yeah.
And
It's an amazing thing to end up in a place where you never expected you'd go with a project.
right.
It's like, how did I get here? Did I channel something? Very often we feel like we've channeled some energy because we don't know how we ended up with the product the way it is.
Yeah. And that's exactly how I would describe painting. I'll start on a painting and then it kind of tells me what it wants. I'm like, oh no, you're going to be this mature color palette. And it's like, oh no, we want to be young and playful. I'm working on one right now. It's like, it wants to be bright and loud. And I'm like, no, we want to be sedate. And so I think you're right. And I don't know how to explain that. I think that my book, this podcast, it's all about we're trying to put words to something that's almost undefinable by words. And so we can only come as close as we can, but you're right. You have to just listen in that space and find what don't domineer it. You can't domineer it, and you don't want to disappear either. You have to be present.
Yeah.
So I think that's a fantastic way of explaining the process. I would definitely see that both of you are spiritual artists because it's that being in that place, that place of creativity,
You feel alive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. So is there anything else that you'd like to share with our listeners about what you do that you're especially proud of or connected to that I haven't talked about?
Well, I would say one thing is we believe in giving back.
Uh-huh.
So because we are so excited when nature shares its treasures with us, we treat the world as respectfully as we can. So we do donate to environmental organizations like Clean Water Action, to give back. And we do believe in giving back to communities that we work with, where some of our colleagues that we work with are. We believe in giving back to that. So we think that kind of closes the loop, that we're given certain things as gifts and we like to reciprocate and give back as part of our work as artists and participants in the universe.
Well, I was thinking maybe some sort of a animal rescue for cats.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
Ginger cats specifically.
Yeah.
That is very good.
We rescue and rehome ginger cats.
Yeah.
I do agree with you, Andy. I think that it's all part of, when you talk about that union, that we are all one and we're all connected. And so we must let things flow through us and share with others and other things, other aspects. That we don't really own anything,
No.
we're just here for the ride.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
So, well, I love this. I love how you use spiritual practice to get connected each morning and how you do it before you go rockhounding. I love how you actually work with it when you're out there on site, where you're actually following some of the mental rules, of where the best locations are, but then kind of just being playful and going with it. So I think it's a wonderful story. And I we'll have to have you back on sometime to talk about the sound healing, because that's a whole nother thing.
We'd love that.
We'd love that.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you very much. And I will talk to you soon.
Thank you, Chris.
Yes,
It's been a pleasure.
All right. Thank you for listening to the Spiritual Artist Podcast. Whether you're following the show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or Google Podcasts, make sure you choose the subscribe button so you'll receive new segments when they're released. Plus, check out my new book, The Spiritual Artist, now available on Amazon.com. In the meantime, be still, listen, and know that you are a spiritual artist.